Hello and welcome in to another special edition off-season podcast, 2025 NFL mock draft, first round only. I'm rejoined by someone who disappeared for a while in the NFL streams. I don't know, maybe lost a lot of money, was being chased down. Any explanation or?
Nah, things were coming up on certain days that we were doing the pod. I was a little more inconsistent. It also was tough to do. I think it was when the playoffs after the first round kind of started. Obviously, there's less games to bet on, a lot less props, or more props and less betting on games. So it was a little more difficult to find ways. But thankfully, I'm not sure if I've been on the podcast or if you even know about this, but Super Bowl lost close to a little less than $1,000 on everything. And then I ended up winning my work square on the final score because of the bullshit 2 point. So I ended up being net positive. So
There you
got
go.
absolutely super lucky, but glad to be back. Haven't seen you in a bit, but
Yeah,
good to
how
be
have you
talking
been?
about football.
How's life since January?
Good. It's starting to get warm here down in Charlotte. You're starting to get that feel of summer, and then the draft's always a good time. Gets you back into the reality that football is on its way, and then obviously after this weekend, it's going to be back to wow. The training camp or the first week isn't until whatever it is, the first or last week of September. I forget, but I don't know. Just excited to be talking football again. Honestly.
Yeah, it's been a while. NBA playoffs, Snorefest, NHL, whatever.
Yeah,
We're
we'll
here for the
talk about
draft.
this. Yeah, the Celtics. Hopefully, it'll get interesting in a couple of weeks, but see how that goes.
All right, so let's break off into the draft. We have, a lot of people saying this is a weaker draft. There's not a lot of prospects, not a lot of intrigue. I'm excited for this draft just due to following college football more often, seeing who's out there.
Yes.
I actually know the names of most of the people, so little quick history. I've been keeping track of my picks since 2020. So every year since 2020, I've gotten at least 5 picks right in the first round.
Nice.
Yeah. So last year we had on the channel, it was one of my first videos, Caleb Williams, Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison, and Malik Neighbors. And then we dropped off after that. But 5 is 5.
Still,
So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
we'll try and
Yeah.
keep it going.
I just as a fair warning to you, and then whoever may be listening out there. I texted Dub to make sure this was all right. I went more of a fun route, honestly. I've heard enough of this bullshit that Patriots are drafting Campbell for the past 3 weeks, and then it's like basically every team's almost slotted up until I think it's either 6 or 7 where it starts. I'm going a little different, and that obviously that starts pretty early, so you guys will see that. Not to foreshadow too much, but just want to give a fair warning before we get started.
All right. I'm excited to see what you have in store for us. I went pretty kind of chalk just because, I'm trying to get the picks right. I mean,
Yeah, that's fair.
the draft for me pretty much starts at 7-ish, 8-ish. But
Okay.
without further ado, let's dive right in. Here we go. Okay, it's not going to work.
Tough. It was looking pretty
With the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, our favorite team on the channel, the Tennessee Titans select. Go for it.
I was gonna say this is probably the only one, or maybe a couple, but I got Cam Ward going here. I can't see anything that would change that. I assume you have the same. If not, that's electric. But I feel like this one's pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, no, I have him number 1. They announced today. Today feels like the day before the draft. I don't know why, but it's
Yeah,
2
I felt
days.
that too. Yeah.
Anyways, they announced today they won't be trading the pick. It's going to be Cam Ward. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the clips of him on Fortnite when he
I
was.
did see that.
That
Yeah,
was
that
hype.
was. Yeah,
Like,
Traylon Burks, top 5 receiver in the league. Okay, buddy, get the fuck
he's like,
out.
what 5 coaches do you want to play for? He's like, Brian Callahan. Like, most
Bro,
people couldn't
yeah,
even name Brian Callahan as a coach.
exactly. Yeah.
I think this will be fun, though. I mean, a lot of people I listened to, Daniel Jeremiah, he said that Cam Ward would be like Bo Nix last year. So I feel like they say it every year, though, where it's like, oh, the quarterbacks aren't that good this year.
I feel like it has been more common in recent years, but also, or I mean, I think it is. I mean, it has been. Like the biggest comparison I feel like has been the Kenny Pickett draft, and Obviously, those quarterbacks in that draft have not really panned out. I'm interested to see the Cam Ward versus Shador because I always felt like they were relatively. I thought they were much closer going into like after the end of college football, and then it seemed like during the draft process, Shador fell off of a fucking cliff, and now it's like potentially doesn't even go in the first round. I found that interesting. I also wasn't really following draft talk at the end of college football that much, but it just seemed like they were more neck and neck, at least from my perspective. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that, but I don't know. I don't see a massive drop off, at least from like that watching them play college football. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but
Yeah, well, I always had Cam Ward a little bit above, but I don't know if that was like a hot take because I thought that was going to be like a hot take coming into this because pre this year it was like Shadur's going number one, and then
exactly, yeah.
like we'll see who else comes into the equation. But I mean, Cam Ward transferred to Miami, had a crazy year. You know, if they beat Syracuse, they're probably in the playoffs, but that's a
Yeah.
different story for a different day. I mean, I think this could work well. I don't think it's going to work well right away because I mean, we saw the Titans last season, and I don't really know what they've done in the offseason to like improve their team at all. I know they still have Calvin Ridley. They still have, I don't even know if they still have Tony Pollard, and I feel like they picked up a different running back. I don't know. But
Mhm.
I think it's not going to go well season one, but this could be, you know, I think he might be the best quarterback out of this class because it's kind of it's like a good middle draft, which is a lot different from last year. You had 6 quarterbacks go in the first round, then
Mhm.
nobody goes. Anyways, I think Cam Ward will be good. I think this is a good fit. It should be fun to see him play with the Titans. At least maybe he can change that trash franchise around. We'll see.
Yeah. No, I agree.
All right, so next pick. The pick is in.
I was gonna say we can't do that for every fucking pick. I'm gonna lose my mind.
It's the Cleveland Browns with the second overall pick. The number one consensus quarterback seemingly is off the board. So I'll take this one. I have him going Travis Hunter. Uh, Chalk pick. I feel like they've been kind of in. I think this year's been weird because it's like you kind of can tell what teams like the players. Like I think the Browns are in love with Travis Hunter. They've been like gushing about him for weeks. So also Travis Hunter's like the number one prospect on a lot of people's boards. I was listening today to Felger and Maz, and they were talking about how he's a better wide receiver than corner, which kind of surprised me because I thought it was the other way around. But he'll be electric either way for the Cleveland Browns on offense. I mean, they're kind of it's Njoku, and then it's like maybe half of Jerry Judy, so he'll provide something right away. They don't really have a quarterback, but when they get one, and then on defense, maybe you mix him in like some Marcus Jones type level stuff, but like flip it where he's playing mostly offense, get some defensive snaps,
Yeah.
etc. What did you have for the Browns pick
I
two?
had I had the same thing. I hope it doesn't happen. Obviously, that would result in either Carter or Hunter falling to the Patriots at 4. Um, but I'm also surprised that it's not more of a conversation of Cleveland taking Shador. I don't know if it's because it's more they don't think Shador's worth the number 2 overall pick. Because I don't like their quarterback room unless they're trying to tank again for the next year's quarterback class. I mean, it doesn't seem like they have any sort of direction with their franchise. But I also don't think that picking Hunter here is a mistake. Like if I was the Cleveland Browns, I would pick Hunter over Shadur. I think Hunter is obviously a dynamic player who can completely change both the offense and defensive, like just feeling of the team. It gives you guys excitement and a want to play in arguably the worst place to play in the entire world. So in Cleveland. So I have Hunter here as well, and I completely agree with everything you previously mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. There's more people talking about Shadur falling out of the first round than people talking about Shadur going in the top 3. I feel like I'm trying to. My mock drafts are always trying to read through what's BS and what's not, and like the BS radar, especially this week, is always pretty high.
Yeah.
I've heard the Giants and the Browns are trying to trade up to 1, so that kind of shows you what they think of Shadur, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So Travis Hunter, I think you can't go wrong. Like if you're taking the best player available when you're a terrible team, fuck it. I mean, Kenny Pickett, I don't believe will be good, but I mean,
Yeah.
second, third chance, who knows? So that's that. That is the Cleveland Browns. Travis Hunter, you got a superstar. Next pick, I think this is where we'll have our first disagreement. It's the New York Giants on the clock. What do you got? Who do you have for the joining the Meadowlands in?
I'm going chalk. I'm going Carter. I think this is almost signed, sealed, and delivered, which sucks. I hope the Giants be the Giants and take Shadur, and then that leaves Carter with us. But I don't know. I can't see It's just difficult. I know they're both older, but it's just tough to see them sign Russell and Jameis and then draft Shadur at 2. But also, that could be a very Giants-like thing to do. I mean, the Packers drafted Jordan, like they trade up in the first round to get Jordan Love when they had Aaron Rodgers. So these things do happen. It's very possible. I hope it happens. I will be wearing a Abdul Carter jersey, homemade for Thursday night. This is my 54. It's my only linebacker jersey for the Pats. Little Dante Hightower. It's going to be Carter on the back with some tape. But curious to see who you got going here.
Yeah, I unfortunately have the same. I want it to be like in my Patriots fantasy dream world, I'd want it to be Shadur, but I don't know. Also, you look at the Giants' history, name one black quarterback that's ever played for the Giants. I think their owner's racist, unfortunately.
Okay. I mean,
It's true, bro.
Bro, the majority of quarterbacks outside of the past 15 years have been white. So it's a short time frame, and you had Eli for the majority of that. So I don't think that's it. But if you think that's the reason they're taking Carter, then
no, it's not. But I mean, I don't know. Carter, I think, is the second best player in the draft overall. I'd love for him to fall to the Pats, but
yeah, I just don't. I don't want to get my hopes up. It sucks thinking like that, but.
All right, as always, the chat's here with us tonight. Your top fan, Greg Small, is with us. He says, "I hate you guys so much."
Hey, he's tuned in, so
starting this shit without me. Okay, we have a scheduled time. We can't, we got places to be, things to do.
Exactly.
He says, "Who did Cam pick for the Giants?"
Did he not?
No, just he joined 2 seconds after you picked.
We got Carter, unanimous decision. I feel like everybody's kind of feeling that way, but.
He says Russ and Winston are black, so I guess that's a point in his favor.
Yeah, that went right over.
But he says he said Mara is a racist. Okay. Oh, okay. He's okay. Got it. What were the picks so far? So we both have been in consensus so far. I have Cam Ward going 1. He has Cam Ward going 1. We both have Travis Hunter going 2, and we both have Abdul Carter going 3, leading us to a fun pick. Our hometown New England Patriots on the clock. I'll start off because I have the boring version. I have Will Campbell. I wish it was different, but that's what I've been seeing all day, all week. It's Will Campbell. They're in love with him. It makes sense. Vrabel wants an offensive leader. They need tackle desperately, and there's not even I think if there was a wide receiver available, if Travis or even Abdul were available, they'd go with him, but it just doesn't look like it's going to be the case. And I don't think Ted McMillan, spoiler alert for later on, is going to be picked very high. So I don't think there's really anybody else you can take here. It's Will Campbell, unless somebody wants to trade up for Shadur. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. And then the whole talk of this whole draft has been nobody wants to trade up, and a lot of teams want to trade down. So it's you're stuck at 4. I know it's people are saying, oh, we should have won that last game. You always play to win. We just got stuck in a bad spot this year. And in a couple of years, if Cam Ward's a bust, Abdul Carter crashes out, and Travis Hunter's hurt all the time because he's playing both sides of the ball, we have a steady left tackle who maybe has to play guard. The short arms, I don't know. I'm not.
Tough. Yeah, I was just not to cut you off. I'll let you get back to it, but I don't want to read into it. But you brought up Felger and Maz earlier, and I've been listening to a lot of them throughout the draft process. And there's this one crazy stat. I think it's in the past 25 years, there's only been one Pro Bowl tackle that has less than 33-inch arms, which obviously is the main comment around Campbell, which kind of scared me. But at the same time, I mean, you love his attitude. It's someone that Mike Vrabel would definitely want to. He'd be probably a leader in that O-line room day one. So I don't mind that pick. But obviously, I went a little more interesting. But I'll let you finish up if you got something.
I mean, yeah, that was it. I think it's Campbell's low on my wish list, but I don't think it's the worst pick in the world just because of the spot. I don't know. It seems like it's an overall bad class. So
yeah,
I'll just let the chips fall where they may. I mean, if they trade down, great, and they could still probably get Campbell. I'm looking at the Jets as the next team that would take a tackle.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Will Campbell will deal with it. Hopefully he's good, and I'm interested to see who you have. That's a little more fun.
I'm just doing something a little different. Like I said, I've been listening to a lot of Felger and Maz. I really like this Walker kid out of Georgia. He's versatile, which obviously the Patriots need. There's just so many holes on this team, and having a plug-and-play guy throughout the entirety of the defense. I know we did upgrade it a lot in free agency, which makes me kind of feel like they are going to be somewhat aggressive in this draft, which I completely enjoy. I don't think like you mentioned earlier. I would love for them to trade back. At the same time, what are you getting in return for that 4 overall pick? Like you said, it's not in high demand. Can't really imagine many people giving up that much. Granted, if you can get a future pick and then something in the second round with the swap of the first, I mean, I would love that, but it just seems unlikely. So I really like this Walker kid, athletic, versatile, and everything I've heard about his character, and also coming from Georgia, that Georgia defensive players, almost everybody that comes out of there, almost has an immediate impact on their NFL roster that they get drafted to. So I think it's exciting, and obviously Carter would be my first pick if he was available, but unfortunately he's not. I think Walker's more that talent as opposed to Will Campbell, where you're drafting for need. But as I've said, I wouldn't mind Campbell in that spot. When obviously we've talked about how brutal their O-line play was last year, and they didn't do much to address it other than Moses. So kind of foreshadowing a little bit to maybe something on later on in the draft for me, but that's my analysis on the Pats pick.
Okay, I like it. I agree with you. I think if it's not Will Campbell and Carter does go 3, then it will be Jalen Walker. So you're digging what Felger has to say because he's been on that. They're not picking Campbell or Carter, even if Carter was there, which I think is stupid. Obviously, they're going to take Carter. Anyways, all right. The picks are in the books. Now we're going on different journeys now officially because we have different picks. Before we have some comments. So Greg says, I like Carter. So he did like the pick we had, and gonna start my jog. Fuck you guys. Have fun in your jog. I just did a great run.
Get the fuck out of here, Greg.
All right. Now, this one I think is pretty chalky as well, but I'm interested to see what you have for the Jags. So Will Campbell is now available on the board. Do you have the Jags going with him, or do you have them going with somebody else?
I have Campbell slipping a little bit, so I'm going with Graham. Kind of chalking that as well. It just seems like that's something they need. Honestly, I don't remember the Jags offenses play too much other than Brian Robinson or Brian Thomas. Sorry. Yeah, Brian Thomas. I just know I didn't love the Trevor Lawrence slander. I know he obviously had a terrible year, but I still think he can be a quarterback in this league, and I think like he's going to be with the Jags for the majority of his career. Maybe something happens toward the tail end, but I think he's their franchise guy. And as much as I could see them trying to protect him and surrounding him with more talent, whether it be offensive line or a skill position, I just feel like Graham can also really help their defense. It seemed like they were not really in many games, and I think a guy like Mason Graham, true leader on the defensive line, can kind of flip the mentality within that defensive locker room.
Yeah, I have the same thing. I think Graham's pretty high on the draft board. Like I think he's up there, maybe top 3 on the overall talent. I think the Jags will be like the Jags don't have really like defensive. I mean, they have good linebackers like Josh Allen Hines, and I think there's one more other guy. But besides that, they need like a defensive player to really, set the pace, change the game. Mason Graham, I've heard really good things about him. A couple months ago, I don't know if it's kind of simmered out now, but he's still up on there on the high tier list. And yeah, I mean, I have Campbell gone, so I don't see them reaching on the second tackle in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And then besides that, like I've heard there's rumors of Ashton Genty, but I don't know. I think I forget who their running back is, but
I think it's Etienne still, isn't it?
Yeah, no, Etienne kind of fell off. Isn't that don't they have another kid too?
Maybe. Yeah, you're right. I know Tank Bigsby's there, but he's more of like
Bigsby. I think they want to run Bigsby. They still have Etienne. Maybe Etienne gets traded, but I doubt they're going to go 5th overall, Ashton Genty. But I also have Mason Graham, so kind of a boring pick, but an exciting pick because he's one of the best prospects in the draft. All right, let's head out west. We have the Las Vegas Raiders. So this is where I got a little fun. It is kind of somewhat chalky because he has been rumored a lot there, but I have them taking Ashton Genty at 6th. I think, they're kind of lacking that star player. Brock Bowers has been really good, but you have him at receiver, and then you are kind of receiver tight end. And you also have Jacoby Myers, like a bunch of consistent guys at receiver. I think Pete Carroll, I think he slipped up in a press conference a couple weeks ago. That's one of the only reasons why I have them picking Ashton Genty is like, we love this guy, but it would make a lot of sense for them to look on that offensive side. Their defense actually has gotten a little bit better. And I think maybe they just go Genty, then pick like straight defense. And Ashton Genty has been super high on draft boards. Surprisingly so. Like I know he's Heisman and our Heisman level stuff and everything, had a crazy year. I just feel like the days of picking a running back this high are over, but I think a team like the Raiders could make a reach on a running back like this just to try and switch something up. And I have heard good things about him being a potential pro. So I've got them taking Ashton Genty. Who do you have them taking?
I also went very fun. I completely agree. It kind of seems almost chalky at this point with Genty, and I think that's a massive addition. Like you said, along with Brock Bowers, gives Jacoby a little bit more ability to like not be like a pass first team, which is kind of difficult when you're throwing the ball 50 times a game. And also, this team seems extremely new. I like Geno Smith. I like Pete Carroll and what they did towards the tail end of their spots at Seattle. But I don't know. It just seems like they might be planning for the future. And obviously, a little connection with Tom. I'm going Shedeur Sanders at 6.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the thought is they're concerned about trading back because if he falls to 9 with the Saints, they might be taking Shedeur. So what are they really getting in return if they trade with the Jets or the Panthers at 6? I think they just, if they got their guy, they got their guy. It seems like a Jordan. I know it's much earlier in the draft, but if they really like Sanders and they can give him a couple years to sit behind Geno, it's interesting. Obviously, not very popular of a pick, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to be fun, provide a little entertainment, but yeah, I got Sanders going 6.
Yeah. Just wait to see when I have Sanders going. I don't know. I think you make that move for Geno. I think they also re-upped his contract.
They did. For I
They
think it's
still,
only 2 years though, or maybe it's
yeah.
3. But yeah.
They still have Aiden O'Connell, which we have a mutual Raiders fan friend. I think he was pretty high on Aiden O'Connell, but I mean,
I
Geno's
like
obviously,
him, but
yeah,
he reminds me a lot of like a Stidham, where it's like you might like him when he plays, but he's not what you want.
yeah, yeah.
Like
He'd be a
he's
good
just a
backup.
perennial backup.
Yeah. Okay, so Geno and Shedeur taking snaps for Las Vegas. Could get ugly really quick there.
Yeah.
Next, we'll head to the other New York team, the Jets. Unfortunately, our friend Michael did not join us tonight, but he told me they're either going to trade down or pick the best player available. So we'll kick it back to you with that in mind. Who do you have the New York Jets taking? Will Campbell is still on the board for you.
He is. I kind of like see my thought process is I'm not high at all in running backs, especially in the first round, never mind the top 10. But Genty's still on the board. Obviously, he had an insane career. And I think I know they have a very full running back room, but if they see best available player at Ashton Genty at 7, then they might be in the market to be trading one of those other running backs. I got Genty going to the Jets, being a little fun. And it also just seems like a dumb decision, which the Jets are kind of prone to be doing. So I got Genty going 7 to the Jets.
Wow. One of the only positions they actually have with Braylon.
Yep.
I mean, Braylon Allen's 21 years old.
Nah, he's kind of a bum though. This just seems like a Jets thing to do. I don't know.
Brees in 2021, and now Braylon Allen in like the 3rd or 4th round last year, and now Ashton Genty in 2025. Okay. Wow. Greg from the crowd says that's a crazy bad pick.
Thanks,
So
Greg.
I had Genty before that. This one really came down to either Tyler Warren, which was one of the names Mikey had mentioned to me in person before, but I ultimately did not go with him because I think, teams might try and follow the Brock Bowers route, but I think Brock Bowers is a little bit better than Tyler Warren. So I went with the second best offensive tackle on the board, Armand Membu, offensive tackle from Mizzou. Feels like the Jets just pick a tackle every year, and that's who they have to go with. I don't know. That other kid didn't work out for them. They have Fashanu. The other kid, Becton, Mekhi Becton is on the team now. So maybe they try and shore up those edges for Fields. I think they are going to be a run heavy team where you have Fields. You're going to have Fields running the ball a lot. You're going to have Braylon Allen. You're going to have Brees Hall. So offensive line will be important. The new coach, I'm forgetting his name, Glenn. He's going to want to pound the ball.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn. Yeah.
Aaron Glenn. Yep, that's the one. He's going to want to pound the ball, run the ball. That's what got them good in Detroit. So I'm looking at offensive tackle Armand Membu for the Jets, shore up that offensive line, and see what happens there. We got comments coming in. Although Greg despised or didn't like your pick. He says, I agree, though, that would be Jets. Read everything. Don't pick and choose what you read. I was saying he was completely right. And now he's joining your team. He says, I'm trying to split you apart so someone in the chat gets more hate.
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
We'll move
interesting.
on. Hometown team. Carolina Panthers are on the board with interesting options here. For you, they still have Will Campbell. For me, they still have a certain player that I'll just get into now. I have them taking Jalen Walker because, I mean, he could literally go 4th to the Patriots. He's still here at 8. I think they go best player available. I've seen Tet McMillan mock to them, but I think the bad stuff on Tet McMillan is more than the good stuff. Like, I just don't think he's going to go in the top 10 or top 15. Plus, I think, don't the Panthers have some like younger guys? And I think they made a move. They still have a couple people on offense, wide
They
receivers.
have, yeah, receiver wise, they have Leggett, who they drafted last year.
He's a
I don't.
dog, yeah.
He's athletic. He didn't show too much. He just has raw athletic ability. I to be curious to see how that goes. I would have Walker here. But obviously I have the Pats taking him. I also am not a Panthers fan, and it just reeks of another dumb pick by the Panthers. I think they do go McMillan. So I have them beefing up their wide receiver room in their head, number 1 receiver outside of Hunter, if that's what you consider him as. I just think it seems like something that they need. They start to show a little bit more promise on the offensive side of the ball towards the end of the year. Maybe I think they also want to see if they want to extend Bryce Young, and I think this is the year where they kind of got to figure out if this is a guy we go with moving forward. And to do so, I think you got to put him in a position where he can succeed, and that way there's no excuse if he doesn't. So I think in their mind, this is the right pick. I would not. I am very anti McMillan. And would be extremely upset if the Patriots trade out of 4 and then somehow end up with him. I feel like that would be the worst draft that I've watched in recent years for the Pats, and I would hate it. But so summing up, I got McMillan at 8 to kind of support Bryce Young and see what their final decision is with him moving into the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers did take a chance super high. I mean, it was a lot of years ago at this point, but they took DJ Moore pretty high. Could happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think maybe this could be a trade down spot because a lot of teams, maybe if Shadur is still there, they want to jump ahead of the Saints.
Yeah.
Or, there's a couple of good players still out there. I mean, Tyler Warden's still out there for me and you. And then you have like your choice of edge players. Some of them are good. And the cornerbacks, I mean, we'll get into it all. But Panthers, I could see them going Tet, but maybe at a later point. I got them taking Jalen Walker.
Gotcha.
So Greg is still in the chat. He said so he wants someone on the pod to get more hate, even though I was supporting my fellow members. I don't know. His fault. Reread everything. He literally canceled a date tonight to be here, and you won't read everything. SMH. I've literally read everything. There was one stream where I skipped some comments. March Madness stream. I think you missed a couple streams, Cam, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Okay. A second Mike Evans in the NFC South. Ted McMillan. I think we're
Yeah,
both kind of out on
that is
Ted.
the most insulting comparison to Mike Evans. Get the fuck out of here.
Steelers. Could the Steelers jump in at 8?
I don't think this is a spot where I feel like they're looking quarterback, especially with Rodgers not being signed yet. And also the fact that even if he does sign there, I feel like it's a one and done kind of deal. I feel like they're leaning quarterback first round. If they did trade up, I don't know if it would be. I think, like you said, you still have Shador available. He's gone in mine. I don't see them trading up for Dart unless they love him that much. I don't really know who else they would want, honestly. Maybe, especially within yours. I know Campbell's still available, but I feel like their O line's relatively decent. I don't know.
I don't think the Steelers would jump. I don't feel like the Steelers are not a trade up team. They'd be a trade down team, if anything.
Agreed. Yeah.
Rumors on the street. Apparently, Tomlin didn't like Shadur. I think that would be a clash of fits. Yeah,
I could see that. Yeah.
I think Shadur is going to need to find a franchise that's like pretty chill because Dion's going to be mad involved.
Exactly. Yeah.
Our friend Michael's in the chat just missed the Jets pick. He said, "Who did the Jets pick?" So we had a little bit different paths to get there. I have the Jets taking Armand Membu, offensive tackle, Mizzou, and Cam had them taking Ashton Genty, running back from Boise State. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that while Cam gets up and does something. I didn't make that Tet Mike comp. Well, then what were you saying with the second Mike Evans NFC South? I'm a little confused by that comment. What do I get for dinner? Don't get anything good because I'm heading to New York City in a bit, so we need to get all the good stuff together. Don't waste. I don't know. Maybe what's it? Tuesday night? Taco Tuesday. Get a taco. Okay, so Panthers just picked. The Saints are now on the board. For Cam, there's no quarterbacks on the board here, so I'm curious to see who he has. I do not have a quarterback going here with the Saints. I have them going best player available following the Raiders model from last year. I have the Saints taking Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State. I think looking at my list of my mock draft, I think he's the far and best away player here. Saints haven't had that tight end since Jimmy Graham. They still have Chris Olave. They have Alvin Kamara. I know there's a little bit of questions about if Derek Carr can play, who's going to be the quarterback of the Saints. I do think they still like Spencer Rattler, honestly, or personally. So I don't think they're going to take a chance on a quarterback. Just my opinion. So I have them taking Tyler Warren here at 9. What do you have, Cam?
I think this is going to be a weird draft. Everybody's been talking about how the quarterbacks don't go. I think they do. I don't know why. I think it's pretty obvious with the Shador pick. Obviously a little out there. I'm going to have 3 quarterbacks in the top 10 picks. This is a good spot to trade down. Little awareness for those watching the pod. I had 10 minutes to prepare for this, so I'm kind of...
All right, you had like 3 days.
All right, yeah, but I wasn't doing it the day before. But anyways, throwing it together, I think this is a trade down spot potentially, but I wasn't going to go into the research on what pick and who they would trade with. So I only have, I think, 1 or 2 trades in here per the mock draft of Cam Lindbergh. But I haven't taken Jackson Dart, like you said. Derek Carr, questionable if he'll play even at all. And then even with that, I don't know if that's what they're looking for the remainder of the season or for the remainder of his career, especially with the new head coach coming in, Kellen Moore. I feel like he's going to want to at least have an opportunity to go with his own guy. And I don't know. I mean, Jackson Dart, Ole Miss, kind of close to New Orleans, or at least the closest from Ole Miss. But yeah, I got Dart making it 3 quarterbacks in the top 10.
This draft class is reminding me of 2023, where it might even be worse than 2023, where it was like Will Levis might go number 1 overall. Where do you keep going?
I need to open my beer. No, but I completely agree. Jack, I just feel like you nailed it right on the head, where there are a lot of rumors that they would go so high, and then like for your class that you just mentioned, the 2023, and this one I feel like it's the opposite. They're like everybody's gonna fall, and it just doesn't make any sense at all. That I have 3 in the top 10, but this is the draft, and it's kind of a like dart. It's like a dartboard. You're throwing something at it. You have no really idea what's going to happen. Yeah, no pun intended. But
there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it is kind of weird, but yeah, I'll let you elaborate if you have anything more on the comparison of the draft classes.
I mean, I just think it's like we're kind of hyping up the second and third guy. And well, the 2023 class, you had Richardson, Stroud, and Bryce Young all go in the top 4. But then after that, I was like Levis might go. And then I don't know. I feel like maybe this is like more like a 2022 where Malik Willis kind of drops. That's kind of what I'm thinking, although we will get to it later. So Greg has left a lot of comments for us before when you were gone before. He said, what should I get for dinner? I said, Taco Tuesday. Okay.
I heard all of them, yeah.
Great call on Taco Tuesday. Thank you. Don't want to ruin Warren's life with Carr or Rattler. Yeah, I mean, this probably is a death sentence, but
I did like that pick. Like, it makes sense.
You're sharing the load with Kamara and Olave, so it's not like he's going to get all the he's not going to be like a Brock Bowers. He'll probably be more like, I don't know, early like Jimmy Graham, got a couple of targets here, like, and then maybe they'll figure out the quarterback later. There's only a certain amount of teams.
Offense if they do go Warren. I mean, I really like Warren. I think he's the best tight end prospect. I know Loveland's there, but I think he's I think there's a pretty big gap there. And I think Warren, just watching him at Penn State carry their offense, I think would be very interesting to see. And I really liked it when you had that pick for them if they don't go quarterback.
I think that offense would be good. I mean, the Saints, I always imagine the Saints just having a good defense. So if they're able to add, they have a 3-headed snake of Kamara, Olave. Granted, Olave's had health issues. And then Tyler Warren at tight end. I think that's a pretty formidable offense, even with the Derek Carr Spencer Rattler, we saw in person is horrible. But either way, ha ha ha. literally get fucked by Cam. He said this because I said the thing about no quarterbacks being taken. Then you're like, there's 3 going in the top 10. But funny, that's just the difference in our mindsets here. Cam's going more fun. I'm going more somewhat trying to be realistic, but probably going to fail. Hold up, that may be gay. No homo. Thanks for saying that. Why is Cam dipping? First time I'm guessing I had to take a piss. Second time to open a beer.
Exactly. Nailed it right on the head.
Michael has a bold prediction. Everyone's going to fall. I know you haven't been here the whole time, Michael, but Shadur and Jackson Dart are still on the board for me, and all the rest of the quarterbacks outside of Cam Ward. Cam thinks the opposite. He's got 3 going in the top 9. Warren Jets. Neither of us had that. Could be Jets have never had a good tight end. I was listening to, I think it was Colin Cowherd said this today. Like, name the last good Jets tight end that even had like 700 yards, 800 yards. So that could be interesting.
It's just tough. I don't want them to pick a good player for obvious reasons. But it's at 7 with the amount of people. I think there is going to be heavy defense going in the top, or at least the top 6, the picks before the Jets. So I think they are going to end up with an offensive skill player. Warren would be a great fit for them, and hopefully that helps Justin Fields. But I just had a differing opinion than you.
Yeah. So you still have Will Campbell on the board because Mikey's saying Warren Jets if O-lineman not there. So you don't have Membu or Campbell going. So a lot of fireworks in the top 10 for – I mean, we kind of thought last year was like a weak defensive class. It was weird last year.
Yeah, it was.
All right, we've been on this pick way too long.
Agreed.
I got to get back to my banners. All right, Chicago Bears round out the top 10. I'm forgetting who went first last time. I think I did. So you want to jump us off with the Bears? Who do you have them taking?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of perfectly alluded to it. Still have Campbell here. Bears need to upgrade their O-line. They go Campbell. I think they kind of in a similar spot with a little different, obviously, due to timing. But with the Panthers, I think they need to get Caleb a lot more help, especially on the O-line. They have their skill positions set. Maybe they go defense here within your mock draft. But if Will Campbell's still on the board at 10, I feel like that's a perfect place for him to go. I do have a buddy who is a massive Bears fan. I've probably mentioned that on the pod last season. But he was extremely frustrated with how the O-line play was, as I was with the Patriots. Very similar. And when you have a young quarterback and you want to secure his safety and then also determine if he is your future. I know he's your number 1 overall pick and you're most likely going to have to extend him at some point. But I think you're going to need to establish who he actually is as a quarterback in the NFL and not what he did in college. So got Will Campbell going 10 here.
Yeah, so I'm in the opposite mindset. I think they made a lot of trades in the offseason. I believe they got Joe Thuney. I think they made another trade as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're all set on an offensive line. And then wide receiver, they're still running back DJ Moore, still have Roma Dunze. Running back, I'm not sure what the situation is. I have seen some like rumblings of Amari and Hampton going here, but I think that's a little bit smoke.
Yeah.
Obviously, you still have Caleb. So I think the offense is pretty set. So I'm going to skip out and them taking offense. I have them going Michael Williams, edge from Georgia. I think he's just the next best guy, next best defensive player available. Bears don't really have like a pass rush, in my opinion. I feel like they're never really like a team that has, I mean, besides Khalil Mack, who's gone now, I don't remember the last like Bears guy that I'm like, oh shit. And so maybe they go edge here. I thought last year they were going to go defense, I think, and then they didn't go defense and took Roma Dunze. So I think they kind of swapped that this year. I think their offense is sort of all set. Just my opinion, but we'll keep it moving. Can we get the NFL theme song before each pick? I did it twice for the top 2 picks. It's gonna give Cam a headache. It was fun to do it twice. Next pick, San Francisco 49ers. I texted you guys last night. I was surprised that they were picking this high, but it makes sense. They didn't have a great year. I think, their defensive secondary is beat up. Now, there's 2 people that this pick is between. I think they're going to go with Jahdae Barron, defensive back from Texas. And you have Will Johnson there as well, but he's got a lot of injury concerns. And, I mean, that whole freaking San Francisco team is just injury-ridden. So you want to get a guy who's not going to be hurt. I think it's a debate back and forth. I got him going with the guy from Texas. I know there's probably some other players available. You have Trent Williams, who's aging. I'm wondering if you're going to have them take Membu or whatever, but I got him going defensive back because the best 2 tackles have been taken. I think this after the first 2 tackles, it kind of falls back a little bit. I don't think I have a tackle going in the next like 10 or so picks. So what do you say for the 49ers?
Yeah. I completely agree with everything you said. You kind of alluded to what I'm going. Don't really remember the 49ers O-line playing great. I know their entire season was kind of just ridden with injuries. I have them taking Membu. You mentioned Trent Williams getting up there and Membo kind of being somewhat of a project. I know he's the second best tackle, but there's a lot of rumors that he might not be exactly what you want him to. Like, it might take a little bit of time for him to become that NFL starting tackle, whether it be the right side that he played or if they want to switch him to left. I know that's kind of been the conversation with the Patriots if they were to take Membu over Campbell because he has a better side and a lot, or better, he has better size and he has a lot more upside. If they wanted to try and switch him to left, I don't know if that's what the 49ers would do. I do believe, like you said, their defensive backfield is very beat up. I know they lost Tre'Davious Ward. So I was debating between Will Johnson. I have him over Barron. But I have them taking Membu, kind of like I alluded to, with their O-line either getting beat up or aging. So that's my pick at 11.
All right. Question from the chat. Do I get high tonight? Pod choice.
Get out.
I'll leave it up to you. So is that a no?
I vote no. That's
Okay.
not my cup of tea. Get a Corona.
Get a Corona. Pour yourself a glass of wine. Take a shot.
Dude, if you're doing Taco
It's the Dallas
Tuesday,
Cowboys.
Taco Tuesday with the Rona?
Yeah, that could hit
tough.
different. So the Dallas Cowboys are here. I'm interested to see what you have to say. I had them kind of going with a little bit of a flashy pick, so I'm wondering if you're going to follow suit. But a lot of needs for Dallas. Obviously, last year was not what they wanted to be. Granted, how much can you take with Dak being out, and then a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Now it's Schottenheimer's offense. Who do you have the Dallas Cowboys selecting?
Also a little flashy, probably not going to fall this far. I know I had a lot of fun picks in my draft, so this guy could have gone a lot earlier. And I know you had him go a few picks ago, but with Tyler Warren still on the board, I think the Cowboys need another weapon. I know that CD just got extended and they have Ferguson, but outside of that, I don't really know. And Ferguson's like a mediocre tight end, I think.
Peyton Hendershot.
I don't know. Yeah, no.
Isn't there another guy too that they have? Another. They're all clones. It's like Ferguson, Hendershot, and somebody else.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they need another playmaker on the offensive side of the ball. And I think they're just missing a lot of explosiveness on their, and they need a reliable target as well. And I feel like you get both of those with Warren. And I don't know. It just kind of seems like a big play that the Cowboys would make if he's there at 12. I think a lot of people would take him. Obviously, like I said, I think teams will probably take him earlier than 12. But if he's still there, I think the Cowboys have him within my mock draft.
Schoonmaker, that's the other guy I'm thinking.
Okay.
So I also have him taking an offensive weapon, but instead of the tight end, who I already have going to the Saints, I have him going homegrown talent, fastest man in the draft, Matthew Golden, wide receiver, Texas. Notably, still over Tet McMillan, but I think the Texas connection, Jerry's just like stupid like that, where he'll just take the guy from Texas, take the guy who ran the fastest 40. And I think this could be a good fit where you have CD who can kind of make like flash plays, and you have the speed guy, Matthew Golden. I know Cooks is still there, maybe, or I think Cooks actually signed back with the Saints, but
yeah,
they need weapons on offense. Like they're doing running back by committee with Rico Dowdle, and it's like they're going to need a lot of help. I think this is a good draft. This could be a good opportunity for them because their defense has a lot of pieces, and then maybe you pick like running back. I think this is a pretty deep running back class. I know we've only had Gentigo so far, but like second, third round running backs are really good. So I got him going Golden here. This could potentially be another trade out spot. Like, I don't know if they're going to want to take him this high because they can know they can get him later. And I'm not sure if they're even in love with Matt Golden, but I think they go Golden here, take the fastest guy on the board, pair him up with CD. Another comment from the chat. Greg thanks us for watching out for him. He's getting a Rona. Does he take me to hoops this weekend? I am going to New York City. I mentioned it before, so I don't know what this is in relation to, but we're going to try and watch every single pick of the draft.
There you go.
Last year we watched 1 through 253, so we'll see if we can make it happen. Summer is so back. Yeah, you mentioned it being hot here. Or hot where you were. It's 70 degrees in Rhode Island today, so
nice.
Maybe we're back. Okay, so a lot of team needs for this team as well. Miami Dolphins. I I'll start this one off. So I have them. I know they're trading one of their star cornerbacks in Jalen Ramsey. So I have them going to replace that with the best corner still on the board. I had Barron going to San Francisco, so I'm having Will Johnson drop here to the Dolphins. I think it makes sense where they'd also be like a team that's looking for best available. Looking down my list, like Will Johnson, I remember was like in the top 5, top 10 conversation before the season. I know he got hurt, but that kind of dropped his stock a little bit. But I got him going Will Johnson here, replacing that production for Jalen Ramsey. What about you?
I went a little different direction. I just don't like picking or projecting a pick for teams that I don't like. So kind of fucked over the Dolphins a little bit. I have them going with Kelvin Banks, the tackle out of Texas.
Early for what?
Yes, exactly. I think it's a stupid pick. I remember him. I believe he was rumored to go. Like he was supposed to be one of the first tackles, if not the first tackle, going into the college football season. And then he just had a down year. I don't know if it was injury ridden or if he just did not play well. But I've not heard honestly anything positive about this guy. And I was like, you know what? Maybe my like you said, Miami has a lot of holes to fill. Not exactly sure what their tackle kind of looks like on both sides, but I have them just drafting Banks more out of I don't want them to succeed. So that was my reasoning behind that mock.
Yeah.
Right there.
I have Banks going, but it's not going to be for a while. It's more into the first round for me, but I respect the rivalry banter there. Okay, so hoops clarification is a basketball bar. Not sure what basketball we'll need to be watching. Maybe playoffs after the draft. We'll see. So now the Indianapolis Colts, think we were kind of bearish on them the whole season. Didn't really love what they had going on at the quarterback position. They add Daniel Jones, get rid of Flacco. So it's going to be Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. What do you have for the Colts?
As I've mentioned a few times with a lot of the quarterback or the teams, I should say, in their quarterback situation, I think this is like a very much a prove it year for Anthony Richardson. And I have them going with a weapon in order to hopefully improve his performance and see if he's the franchise guy. So I have them going with the second best tight end in the class with Colston Loveland, Michigan guy. I think he provides a lot more maturity to that team, especially like the offensive side. I don't really know, honestly, anybody other than Pittman and obviously
Alec
Richardson.
Pierce,
Jonathan,
Josh Downs.
Yeah, that's not a great wide receiver room. And I can't even I couldn't guess who their tight end is. I think
remember Mo Alley Cox, former ECU Ram,
basketball player. Yeah. I think they need a little bit of an upgrade there. I've seen him, and also Warren mocked if Warren falls to this far, which is very unlikely. But I like Loveland there. I like Loveland. I kind of feel bad having him go to Indy because I think he's a good player, and I think Indy's a terrible franchise, especially with what they got kind of at the helm there in Richardson. So I think they try and surround him though, and Loveland can probably make the best out of that situation. So I have him going 14 to the Colts.
So I have the exact same thing. I have them taking Colston Loveland. I was originally listening to another podcast, and I was like trying to somehow get him all the way to drop to the Chargers because he's a Michigan man. But he's not going to fall that far. He's going to go in this top 20 area. So I like him taking Loveland as well. I'm more high on Alec Pierce and Josh Downs and the other kind of little weapons they have around Michael Pittman, but I think Michael Pittman's an underrated wide receiver as well. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Taylor, you're getting out of him. Maybe they take like a pass catcher later on too, but their offense, weapon-wise, is pretty good. It's Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones. So who knows what's going to happen with the quarterback situation? But you go like Loveland here, and then defense, take like a pass catching running back, and then defense. Could see that happening for the Colts. So I got him going with the best player available and second best tight on the board. Okay, we go to Atlanta. First year from Michael Penix. Last year, I thought they were taking Dallas Turner. I remember that was one of my picks. They make one of the biggest shocking picks of all time, Michael Penix at 8. Do you have them? Or I'll start this one out because you went last time. I'm going more simple this year. I'm going with that edge that I thought they were going to take last year. Best player on the board, I think, is Mike Green at edge. I've heard a lot about this guy recently. He's kind of moving up draft boards. I could see Atlanta being a team to try and snag him here. Obviously, I think they've moved off a couple pieces on defense. They still have Judon, but pair him with a young kid like Mike Green. Get it all figured out. I'm worried about Mike Green that he's from Marshall just because, who you're playing against. But I could see them taking a chance on the edge here. And there is another edge that could potentially be in play here. But I'm going with Mike Green because I've just heard that name more frequently. So what about you?
I had the same exact thought process. Everybody had Dallas Turner pretty much locked and loaded going to Atlanta. I still have Mikal Williams on my draft board. So I think he is a more promising prospect than Green, even though I do like Green and agree that he's going up on draft boards, at least what I've seen recently. But with Williams there, I just feel like he's a lot more dynamic and something that the Falcons, I don't know if they would pass up on this 2 years in a row, having a edge guy like that. And I feel like their offense they have weapons there, or at least enough with Penix in order to kind of understand what their offense is going to be with Bijan and Drake London. I forget
Pitts.
who else. Yeah. And Pitts as well. So I don't really see a necessary need, especially this early at 15 when you have a guy like Williams on the board still. So I'm going 15 to the Falcons.
I like that. I could see that happening if something breaks that way where he's still available.
Yeah.
Comment from the chat. McGann said he'll go to hoops. I'll save this pod for legal reasons. Okay, maybe I just signed up for something that's going to be bad. Cardinals on the clock. So famously, you are not a fan of the NFC West. Probably, I think one of our least favorite teams to pick against or pick for this season. What do you have them doing to improve their outlook for the 2025-2026 season?
I have no fucking clue how they are at 16. First of all, that's insane to me. When I first saw that, but I feel like they have a lot of needs. But I feel like their defensive play. I feel like there were a lot of shootouts with that team, and it was kind of entertaining, but also disgusting to watch. So I think they go secondary here. I still have my favorite defensive back available. I have them going Will Johnson out of Michigan. I know you mentioned the concussion/injury history, but with that kind of talent, I mean, he was supposed to be, or he I think he still is the top rated defensive back in this draft. So, and I think he's been pretty consistent throughout his college career at Michigan. So I have Arizona going with a little bit of improvement in their defensive secondary.
I like that. I like your draft, but more as we go along earlier than the earlier like firework chaos stuff. I think that makes sense for like now what's happening because of the stuff you said earlier. But I also have them going defense. I have them going more interior though. I got them taking what I think is the best defensive tackle on the board, Kenneth Grant from Michigan. A lot of Michigan guys going early. I think first round. I didn't really realize that considering they were 6-6. I mean, they did beat Bama in the bowl game, but I got him going Kenneth Grant. I just can't remember the last time the Cardinals have had like a relevant defensive tackle. I mean, you had Calais Campbell, but that was probably like 6-7 years ago at this point. I got them trying to figure something out inside and then maybe work their way out. I know they, had Hassan Reddick in the past. I don't know what the future is on that defense, but I can't really, gun to my head, I could probably maybe name 2 or 3 Arizona Cardinals defensive players. So I'm in agreement with you there. I just have them going more big up front. I think, we saw with the Patriots, we haven't really touched on the offseason that much, but Milton Williams got 25 a year. Like, I think there may be more of an emphasis on defensive tackle. I'm also looking at trends from last year where you had Brock Bowers go early. So that's why I have Loveland and Warren going like pretty early. I don't know. That's when they're around supposed to go, but this may be a comment or maybe an answer for after our first round because we still have a lot of picks to go. But we'll put a book note in this one. Syracuse quarterback, Ohio State quarterback, Kyle McCord. Where does he end up? We can talk about that in a bit. Cincinnati Bengals now on the clock. So I'm going back-to-back defensive tackles. I got them taking Walter Nolan, defensive tackle, Ole Miss. I know there's somewhat of a need of offensive line there, but I think that's more of people just saying Joe Burrow doesn't have an offensive line, not really knowing what's going on. I think also I've mentioned before, there's not really a lot of offensive linemen after Membu and Will Campbell, and both of those are off the board for me. So the next offensive lineman I have is not for another couple picks, and that's someone that we were already talking about being pretty shaky. So I got him going defensive line here. I mean, they still have Trey Hendrickson to get a guy like Walter Nolan, who I've actually read a couple good things about on the inside to pair with him. I like that for their defensive line. Shore up that unit. What do you have for the Cincinnati Bengals?
Very similar thought process. The problem, obviously, for the past 2-3 years has not been the offense with Cincinnati. Granted, they might need O-line help to keep Burrow, have a more long career. But like you said, I think you can get a lot more depth at that position in the second round and possibly even the third. And especially, like you said, the drop off after Campbell and Membu, I just think is too large for them to reach and get a guy there. I still have Mike Green available. I know you had him a couple picks ago to Atlanta. but I think very similar wavelength. They're going to go and try and build on at least one point, I guess, with Hendrickson as a strength and just build upon it. So Hendrickson and Green on opposite sides, I think could be really interesting. I know they have a lot of needs in that entire defensive room, but with Mike Green available, I think he's the best defensive player available and very similar wavelength that you went on. So yeah, I have Mike Green going 17 to the Bengals.
I like it. So Greg, you did more than one round. No, this is only one round, but maybe we can give a quick segment at the end to talk about a couple of players that we didn't have going in the first round. What are you doing here? You're watching two draft experts make their pick for the 2025 NFL first round. Just realized we're both wearing Pat's gear. How long have you been here? I mean, some people like to listen and not pay attention to the screen. I'd understand that. I think my podcast works better as an audio podcast, but we're still here in person and on camera, not scared to show our faces. Need a Giants jersey before the draft. You're running out of time, man. Only a couple days, literally, I think 2 days and 3 hours or 3 minutes until the draft begins. Don't have one in my apartment. Got to get on that. Maybe I get a Jameis jersey delivered before the draft. I wouldn't recommend that due to shipping and, expedited services. I think that could be a mistake. So you do what you will, though. Jameis, I also think, could be cut if things go the way I think they're going to go. Anyways, the Seattle Seahawks, another NFC West team. I like the Seahawks. You didn't like the NFC West teams as much. So what do you have to say for the Seattle Seahawks here at 18? Who do they take?
A little interesting pick. Honestly, this is where I started to have a little bit more trouble, especially with the names. I have a few that I know, but 25 is when I was just like, what the fuck are we doing here? But 18, obviously got a new quarterback coming in, Sam Darnold. I know they brought in Cooper Kupp. I do think they just need a little bit more help on the offense. So I have them going with a running back here. I forget where Kenneth Walker went, but he is no longer a Seattle Seahawk. So I have
That's
him.
news to me.
Yeah, I saw it the other day and was pretty surprised, but I forget where he went and I didn't hear about it before, unless I was completely just like zoned out in the gym. I read it wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's not on the Seahawks anymore. So with that in
He's
mind,
on the Seahawks. He's on the Seahawks.
He is? Okay. Well, that fucked up that pick, but maybe I can do a quick little
switcheroo.
Yeah, I can do a quick little switcheroo.
Want me to filibuster?
Yeah, I got it. That's actually pretty easy. So I'm gonna go with, now knowing that Kenneth Walker is still a Seattle Seahawks.
And they still have Charbonnet as well.
Okay, yeah. So I have them going with Golden, another wide receiver. I still have him on my board. I know you had him earlier going to the Cowboys. I think he's the second best wide receiver prospect, even though I'm not really high on many of the wide receiver prospects, especially the early ones that are projected to go in the first round. I mean, he's obviously extremely fast, but I think they're going to want to surround Sam with as much weapons as he can in order to succeed there, especially early. So I have them going Golden there at 18.
Yeah, my pick's a little weird. I know this position doesn't really go high in the draft usually, but when there's like one specific of these positions available and you have the best one there and you just need help on this certain position group, you take it. So I'm going Tyler Booker, guard from Alabama. Pretty far and away the best guard so far that I've seen. He's the only guard I have going in the first round. I think they're somewhat all set at tackle. But like you said, with Sam Darnold first year, I think they're going to want to look to shore up that offensive line, make sure he's not getting blitzed. Like that's the least you can do. And I do think, I've said it a couple of times, but I think this draft's a lot better in the second and third round for wide receivers and running backs than the first round. I still have Tet on my board, but I don't know. I think when you trade away DK and then I think they kind of want to just feed JSN.
Yeah.
And then maybe they'll take a guy second, third round, figure that out. But I got him going Tyler Booker. I could see what you said, though. If Matthew Golden is still there, take him, or maybe they go Tet. That's who I'm between. But I had him going offensive line because I feel like Mike McDonald with the Ravens saw that they had a pretty strong offensive line, so they want to shore that up. Next, we're getting into the playoff teams. Our first playoff team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 19th pick. I still have this guy available. I think we both still have this guy available. Edge player. I just think the Bucs on offense are all set. They re-signed Godwin, have Evans. They have that 3 or 4-headed monster at running back. Cade Otton, I think, is a good tight end. Obviously, there's not really tight ends left for either of us. I got him going edge, James Pierce Jr., edge from Tennessee. I think he's really talented. I just don't remember what happened that he fell this far. I remember he was one of the top names in the drafts, but when you have the chance as a playoff team last year to take a talent like this, I think they go James Pierce Jr., edge from Tennessee. What do you say?
I really like that. I really like James Pierce. He just didn't have as a productive season as a lot of people thought he was going to have going into the year. But yeah, I really like that pick. I have them also going defense, but I have them improving their secondary. Believe they still have Winfield there at safety. I also don't necessarily know their corners, but I also could be completely wrong. They have a decent amount of corners.
Who is the guy? Carlton Davis, was he from? I think he's from the Lions. Maybe that, I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. I still have Barron on my board, who some have over Will Johnson, and like you said, I think they're in a good spot on offense. A lot of weapons there. Baker's been having success, and I'm curious to see how they do with Cohen gone. I don't really think that he was a mastermind. I think they'll still have a very good offensive season without him as the offensive coordinator. So I have them going with the second best corner, if not the best corner in the draft. Upgrading their defense a little bit. So Barron at 19 for me.
Okay, I like it. More comments from pretty much our only commenter tonight. Why is my food taking forever? I wish we could tell you. I don't know the answer to that. I stopped listening to picks. Well, tune back in. My picks are about to get spicy for the next three. Give the people what they want. McCord to the Steelers.
In the first fucking round?
Yeah.
Get this kid out of here.
I try to tell him he's so high on everything Syracuse. It's like, dude. So the Denver Broncos, the 7th seed of the AFC. Pretty impressive year, honestly. I wasn't expecting this out of Bo Nix, Sean Payton. There's a couple maybe needs they have on offense and defense. So who do you have? What need do you have them addressing, and who do you have them taking?
Yeah, I originally had Golden slotted here until I realized that Kenneth Walker is still a Seahawk. So I thought that would be a good fit for them, providing a little bit more help. For Bo, I don't know. I am kind of flip-flopping here. I just think it's the easiest thing because I'm kind of going off of a whim. I think it's too early to reach for a receiver. I could see this as a good spot for them trading. I know you have Ted McMillan back or still available. I don't have him or Golden available. So I could see this as a trade back spot for them, but for the sake of the podcast, I'm just going to have them draft Amario Hampton. I am not a fan of Jamal Williams. I think a lot of people think he's underrated.
I mean, Javonte Williams?
Or Javonte,
yeah.
I find him extremely overrated by the talk of people saying that he's underrated. I've never seen him, at least whether it's fantasy or even just watching him, I've never really been impressed or understood the likeness around him. So, and also just for the convenience of the pod, I have them going with, or probably the second best running back in this class, at least in my opinion. So, like I said, helps out Bo, and they obviously have a stellar defense. So, curious to see what you have for the Broncos at 20.
I have the exact same thing. I have them taking Amarian Hampton. Like you said, Javonte, he was picked pretty high for what he was, has been kind of a flame out. I know they do have Estime from Notre Dame, who they like a little bit. I think you pair him with Omarion Hampton, that could be a good combo together, little pass catching. Estime is more of like a hard runner, like a Derrick Henry type. So I think those two on offense together would be good. Obviously, the Broncos need help on offense weapon-wise, but I don't know. I have the slip of Ted McMillan being one of like the big day one stories. I've heard too much about him not being great. So his slide will continue. I have him going running back, addressing that need. I could see this being a trade out spot, like you mentioned. I mean, the Broncos defense is pretty good, so they don't need to shore up anything on there. But I got him going running back, maybe a little flash in the pan in there. Omarion Hampton to the Denver Broncos. Here we go. Syracuse tight end who's probably not supposed to go to like the 4th or 5th round. Oronde Godson to the Broncos. Don't see it. Maybe in the 4th. Maybe in the 4th.
Get this guy off of the chat, bro.
All right, so the intrigue begins. I promised some exciting picks. It's Pittsburgh Steelers time. Shadur Sanders is still on the board. Ted McMillan is still on the board. But I have the Steelers taking neither of them. I have them going with Jackson Dart. I have the same thing as you, just happening a couple picks later. I think the fall of Shadur is real. It's going to be one of those day one stories. He'll be like a Lamar type to just fall back in the draft. Mm-hmm. And I think Jackson Dart is a slow riser. There's always one or two guys in these weak quarterback drafts who move up the list pretty quickly. So I think Jackson Dart will be the guy here. Jackson Dart apparently has a really bad game against Florida or somebody, but I think the talent, the tools have always been there. He's one of the top prospects of this class. I think the Steelers will sign Rodgers eventually, but it's going to be like weird because they're also going to draft a quarterback. You look at the Steelers depth chart, they have Mason Rudolph. It's like if Rodgers is like, fuck it, I'm retiring, they need to take a quarterback. So I think they're going to go with Jackson Dart kind of being the same thing as they picked Pickett. Like, I don't know if this is really going to work out, but I got to go with Jackson Dart at 21. What do you say for the Steelers here?
I have my one and only trade here, and I think it's because mainly, like I said, I have those 3 quarterbacks going in the top 10. Also, when I say fun draft, it's going to be fun for the Patriots, always. So I have them trading back into the first round. Obviously, I have them going defense at number 4. Obviously, massive need at tackle. I have them trading, I don't know what it would take to get there, but their second round picks, so 38, and then one of their their fourth rounder, and then maybe like a 7th and a 6th. I don't, or 7 or a
I don't know if
6.
that would get it done. Maybe like a 4th next year or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
something like that. Whatever. I think that like I'm fine with. Obviously, I don't want them giving up an insane load, but I can if they do in my mind, even if they take Carter, if Carter's there at 4 and you take him, I can see the Patriots trading back into the back of the first round, maybe a little bit later. But I think the Steelers are a perfect candidate in mine when you have the 3 quarterbacks gone. They could take best available. But I just don't see it happening for them. I think they accumulate more picks. Hopefully, they just go with their quarterback in either the 2nd or 3rd round, and they sign Rodgers, and then they revisit the problem next year. But I have the Patriots at 21 going with Simmons out of Ohio State. I'm a massive fan of him. I think he would have been the best tackle in this class if he didn't get hurt. And obviously, that presents an issue with the injury, but I don't know. I'd rather take a swing on a guy that was probably slotted as the best tackle in the draft going into the college season, and the injury kind of fucked him over. But I don't know. Like I said, fun draft. Let's have the Patriots drafting Simmons at 21.
I like it. I
Thank
will have
you.
Simmons. Simmons will make it out of the first, or will not make it out of the first round, but
Yeah.
there's another tackle I'm looking at that may be coming up soon, or 2 more tackles because you had Calvin Banks. I still have Calvin Banks available. So interesting picks for both of us here for the Steelers, aka for you, the Patriots picking on behalf of the Steelers. I would like that though. Grab a tackle if they are going to take Walker early on. So now the Chargers. Colston Loveland's not there. A lot of the Michigan guys are not really there anymore for Harbaugh to jerk off over.
Yeah.
So so who do you have them going with at 22 here?
I have them going with a weapon, and it's a little weird. Michigan drafted an Ohio State guy. Uh, Everything I've heard about Emeka Ibuka is awesome when it comes to character, and I feel like
Really, that is directly in straight opposition to somebody that I know that's been in his presence.
Okay, interesting. I'm not well. This is all coming from the draft analytics, or at least the 2 people that I've heard say that he's a football guy. He doesn't really stand out in many areas as a receiver. Like he's not the speediest and he's not the most physical, but he's been extremely consistent, and I feel like that's something that Jim Harbaugh really likes in his players. And it doesn't hurt to get Herbert your number 2 receiver. And I think he's also very different than Glad McConkey, obviously a little more of a slot guy. I think Ibuka can play a little bit more on the outside to complement McConkey. And I don't know. It kind of seems like a pick for me where I think Harbaugh wants to utilize Justin Herbert's talents as much as he can. So I have them going with the wide receiver at 22 out of Ohio State.
So I also have him going with a wide receiver, but it's the guy who's supposed to be the first wide receiver off the board. I have him taking Ted McMillan.
Yeah.
This wide receiver core is pretty shaky. I mean, they're bringing in Mike Williams again. It's like, what is he worth at this point? They got to shore up. That offensive line is pretty good already. You had Joel. You have defensive lines pretty good with Khalil Mack. I mean, I know they let Joey Bosa go, but I'm confident in this Chargers team. I'm confident in Harbaugh's coaching ability. I'm not really confident in this pick that they'll take a wide receiver because I just feel like Harbaugh would be like against taking a wide receiver in the first round. But in my scenario, Ted McMillan was supposed to go maybe top 10. He's still on the board here at 23 or 22. So it's like, fuck it. They'll just take him.
Yeah.
So both of us have the same position in here going for the Chargers. More comments from Sir Greg in the chat. Okay, Jackson Meeks here. I'm not sure what that means. Awful. Allie would say something different. Allie would flip if she was here. She would. Also, her name is Ali, not ALLIE. McGann, Colin asked. She was supposed to be here. She said she'd be locked in, but no show in the chat. No show so far.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's all right. No worries. Yeah, it's all good. Okay, so Green Bay is on the board. Notoriously don't really take offense in first round. I have them continuing that trend. I have them going with another great edge player on the board from Texas A&M, Shamar Stewart. Just feel like they always go defense. Corner, I mean, Jair Alexander might be leaving, but the next kind of wave of corners, I don't see them touching that. I think that will fly off maybe a little bit later, teasing something else. But I don't know. I think they go edge here. They're going to stay at this pick. The Green Bay Packers always make their first round pick, I feel like. So I got them going with Shamar Stewart and edge from Texas A&M. What about you?
Very similar. I can't imagine them taking an offensive weapon at 23, just notorious Packers kind of routine. I think you had this guy going a lot, or not a lot, but much earlier than I did. Harmon, defensive tackle. I don't know if that's okay. Maybe I'm messing that up, but I'm pretty sure.
Do you still have James Pierce on the board?
I do. I'm pretty sure Harmon is D tackle. Like I said, don't necessarily know all of these guys. Where is he over here? But yeah, anyways, I feel like he's someone like the Packers, a defensive lineman, big guy. And then from there, they can kind of build upon. I feel like their offense has enough where it's not necessarily. I can't even fucking find them. Anyways, I feel like they have enough like receivers. Obviously, you don't have your stud, but I don't think you're getting that in this first round. And why not build upon something that you have notoriously done? So I have them going with Harmon. I'll try and figure that out who it is a little bit more while you do the next pick. But yeah,
we're late on. It's to the point where it's like, who knows these guys, especially defense.
Yeah.
Greg Trader, Michael Hater. Not sure if this is in reference to me or Allie. Go Grizzlies. I agree. Down 17 though. I thought they might cover the spread this game, but they're already down 17. So
Harmon is the D tackle out of Oregon.
Okay, I don't have him going in the first round. So we'll keep it moving. The Vikings are on the clock. Sam Darnold is no longer there. Looks like it's going to be J.J. McCarthy's offense unless they take a shot on Aaron Rodgers. What do you say about the Minnesota Vikings?
I don't know the Vikings that much regarding like line play for offense. I feel like skill position wise, they are all set. I don't see any need regarding running back unless you want to get younger outside of Aaron Jones. But I feel like your offense is meant if they have a solid O-line. Even if you don't, I don't see another tackle that's someone that you might pick in this position if you're Minnesota. So I'm going defense. I'm going with linebacker Jahad Campbell out of Alabama here. I think he's underrated within this draft class. I feel like he was a pretty much of a force on that Alabama defense. I know they weren't the same Alabama team, but you could argue that they deserve a shot in the playoff. But yeah, I like him at Alabama. Kind of seems like a gritty guy that Minnesota wants to have on their team to improve their defense and hopefully keep it low scoring for JJ and how he can do with all those weapons surrounding him.
Yeah, so I saw I did my mock originally, and I saw it today. Jahad Campbell did like the Cooper DeJean video where he was like, "I'm good. I apparently had a really bad injury." Unfortunately, I don't have Jahad Campbell going in the first round. Mm-hmm. But for my pick, we have a trade to announce.
Okay.
I think the Vikings trade out of here. Now, the past couple of years, I don't predict who comes in, but Shedeur Sanders is still on the board at 24. The camera keeps panning to him after every pick. Is he going to get picked? He's in the green room. Jackson Dart went above him. What the hell is happening? Maybe the Giants come in at 24. Maybe the Saints come in at 24. Maybe, a shocking team that we were not expecting comes in at 24, like the Buccaneers or the Seahawks, the Raiders. How much longer is he going to last? I don't know if they're trying to jump whoever, but it's like, we got to make the trade now. Shedeur Sanders is off the board. I don't know who he goes to. I'm excited to see if it happens. But also I could see him just going super early, but I don't know. I think the him falling out of the first round is more like his story is more like a Lamar story, and maybe he'll be good off that. I don't know. I don't think so, but I think his story is more falling back in the draft than being an early choice, just due to all the stuff with Dion. He's, very overconfident, to say it frankly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's our character concerns. I don't know. I think he goes here. Vikings. I just don't know what the Vikings really need. Like I
Yeah,
feel like they're
exactly.
kind of
Yeah.
just like they're kind of doing. I'm trying to think of a good example of this when like you get off one quarterback, Darnold, like you saw Darnold stealing. He wasn't that great in moments of clutch, and they're just like passing it to JJ McCarthy, maybe like an Alex Smith to Mahomes situation on like a lesser scale.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's like we're gonna give him the same team. You have Addison, you have JJ, you have a great defense. You
I
still
mean,
have Bryant.
a great comparison is just the Vikings in general with Kirk Godon and Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
And it's like, what really is their need? They can't get over the hump. That's why that was one of my toughest picks, honestly, because you're later on the draft. I don't necessarily know these guys as much as you do, or whoever else is analyzing draft boards. I don't know. Campbell just seemed like a decent pick from my perspective, but yeah, I completely agree with you. Could easily see them trading out of this spot at 24.
especially if Shadir is still there and like late.
Yeah,
I feel like late first round trades just fly off the board. So
yeah,
I
agreed.
do like to traditionally at least include one or two trades. It's hard to always predict a trade, especially this year where it's like who the fuck knows who's actually trading. But
Yeah,
Shadir going at pick 24. So now we go to the Houston Texans, won a playoff game. Now we're on to the second round of playoff teams. And for me, you had this guy going a lot earlier to the Dolphins just to screw them over, but I have him going Kelvin Banks. Connection, Texas to Houston. Um, I think one of Houston's major needs is that offensive line. I'm forgetting, they lost to the Chiefs, but they probably got bull rushed a million times. And, that
yeah.
was one of the reasons why they lost. So I think they want to shore up that offensive line. Laramie Tunsil, I know, is expensive. You need someone to pair with him. Maybe you sit Kelvin Banks behind
Pretty
him a
sure
couple of years.
Tunsil is gone too.
Oh, is he? Maybe
Yeah,
he
he
is
went to the
gone. Yeah.
James. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Huge need at tackle. There is another offensive tackle that I have going, or two more offensive tackles that I have going, but I have Kelvin Banks going here. Um, I don't know. I think the Texas connection, like I have both Texas teams taking a Texas guy. Just think that could happen. I don't know. Maybe they prefer a different guy. Maybe they prefer a Josh Simmons or a Josh Connerly Jr. But I don't know. It's hard to read the tea leaves on the late first round offensive tackles, So I got him going Kelvin Banks. Was supposed to be good. Maybe they just take a shot in the pan, grab him. So what do you say for the Houston Texans?
I went a little different. It does make a lot more sense now you're saying tackle, making me rethink my pick. But I'm just gonna go with what I had previously. I don't know if you had him going earlier or not, but Shamar Stewart at A&M.
I did. I had him going a couple picks earlier to the Packers. Only literally 2 picks earlier.
Okay, yeah, I remember you saying that name. So I have him going here at 25 to Houston. I think they need somebody else on the other side of Will Anderson. Off the top of my head, maybe they already do. I don't know the entire Texans defensive line, but I feel like I know a lot of people like this is the guy that has like very minimal stats, right? But his physicals, at least at the combine, were crazy. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody different, but I don't know. I feel like this kind of could be a fit. Maybe pairing with Will Anderson at 25. I feel like it's a good value there. Defense. But yeah, the tackle. I feel like if I had a little bit more time and research, I feel like tackle would have been a much better spot to go here for them. I could also see him potentially trading out because we've talked about the tackle play not being as great once you get past Membu. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of on the second wave here, so I think tackle would be hard to even choose because I have a couple more tackles going before the end of the thing, so
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. Rams traditionally don't like to make their first round picks, but they made their first round pick last year for the first time in a while. Could see this easily being another trade out spot for them, but if they stay put, who do you have them taking, or do you have them trading out?
I think this is kind of a trade out spot. But I can see them trying to find him here. So I do have another tackle going to the Rams. I don't know their offensive line like at all. Not sure if that was a point of weakness, but I don't know. I feel like their team in general. Like I said, I hated the NFC West so much, so that's probably the least amount of players I know within each respective team in that division. But I mean, with the tackle there, I've seen this Ursay. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I've seen his name pop up like fringe first round, but he could also fall to like middle to back half a second. But but I definitely could see the Rams trading out of it. Like I said, I just wasn't gonna plan out a trade with another
Yeah,
team
it's
and then
hard to.
pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just have them picking a tackle or say at 26, but that's my pick there.
I also have him taking a tackle. I think this guy's a little bit higher on people's draft boards. Oregon, Josh Connerly Jr. Kind of mentioned his name before, but I think the kind of second wave on tackle starts here after Membu went 7. It's like teams are kind of waiting and anticipating when this run will start. All of a sudden, Banks goes. Rams are like, "Shit, we got to take a tackle." I don't think their offensive line situation is the best. I know the Rams have been kind of a team rumored to be maybe in a quarterback situation, but with Stafford probably retiring the next couple of years. But I think that replacement can come in a couple rounds down the line, maybe second or third round. We see them go quarterback. So I have them taking Josh Connerly, offensive tackle from Oregon. Comments in the chat. LaQuint Allen, running back from Syracuse, will be a good pick in the second or third round. I actually want the Patriots to draft him or Travion Henderson from Ohio State in the second round or third round. I want them to grab one of those guys. Maybe if not, grab another running back. I'm sure there's more running backs out there. Mick Kuiper, 5 correct picks a year, hoping to continue the streak on this year. Greg chirping me like, all right, yeah, I know. I don't know what that was about. It's Allie. Thanks to I mentioned that in the pod. If you rewind and watch from the top, you'll see I'd offended. So did you guys have Emeka Ibuka go yet? So I had a very wide receiver sparse draft. I've only had Matthew Golden to the Dallas Cowboys at 12 and then Tet to the Chargers at 22. Cam, you did have Emeka Ibuka go and you were complimenting his character. So now that Allie's here, that may be a little bit of a
Yeah, I mean,
conflict of
maybe character
opinion.
wasn't the right word. I was more focused on football guy. Like he's very devoted to the game of football. That's what I meant by that, like football character. Whatever Allie's experience was with him, I can't speak to that. But yeah, I had him going 22 to the Chargers. I know you had a wide receiver going to the Chargers. I just feel like
Yep.
good compliment to McConkey, a little bit different of a receiver, and it's another weapon for Herbert in a very scarce wide receiver room over there in Los Angeles. But yeah, that's where I'm going 22 to the Chargers.
Okay. So Tat falling, yeah, that's one of the things in my draft. I'm sure he'll go higher, but who knows? He's killed an interview so far, so far doesn't disagree with the character comments. Did you guys have Houston taking Josh Simmons? Did you have that? You had Josh Simmons go earlier, right?
I have the Pats taking Josh Simmons.
Yeah, Pats trade in and take Josh Simmons.
At 21 to the Steelers because I had all 3 quarterbacks going in the top 9 picks. I like you kind of just mentioned, I also really like Connerly, which might be a little bit later on in the first round, but I like Simmons a lot more. As I said, he was projected to be the number 1 tackle in the draft going into the college football season, and obviously he had a pretty severe injury. But I don't know, big fella, actual tackle, has experience there. Think it's a Patriots perfect fit, especially when they're drafting, in my mock, a defensive player at 4.
Yeah, so I have not had Josh Simmons go off the board. Stay tuned, though. Teaser, he's still on the board, so maybe he'll be grabbed in the next couple picks. And I had Houston taking Kelvin Banks instead. And then I had the Rams right after them taking Josh Connerly. Comments still flowing in. Allie, you were my favorite McGann besides Tim. The Tina disrespect is real. I mean,
Wow.
host of the pod gets no love. Got it. But, there's people out there who are maybe watching this. No, that she's not watching. But, there are 4 members of the family, okay?
Jeez.
I would love Josh Simmons on the Pats. So she likes the mock here. He's a huge, huge guy. I've seen him in person flex. I haven't gone Will Campbell, so I don't think they double dip on tackle personally. Thanks, Greg. KC fan base wants Simmons badly. Well, that's convenient. Okay. Next pick, the Baltimore Ravens. This one's pretty simple for me. Seems like the Ravens always end up in the spot where they're not winning the Super Bowl, but they have a really low first round pick, and then someone just falls into their lap. I got him taking Malachi Starks, best safety off the board from Georgia. Pair him up with Kyle Hamilton. You got a deadly safety duo out there. I think, a lot of teams look past safety in the first round, but we've seen the Ravens already take the chance with Kyle Hamilton. It worked out really well. So I think they could double down. Georgia, SEC, safety, Malachi Starks. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of our analysis is similar going on into the later rounds. I don't have Starks going here. I have Connerly actually going here. I know they have Ronnie Stanley. I'm not sure who's on the other side, but I know when you have Derrick Henry and Lamar, O-line is not a bad place to pick, especially like you said, they're always in this spot later in the first round. Are you really getting the top talent? not necessarily, but Connerly is one of those tackles where I really like him. And if the Patriots do trade into the back half of the first round, I would love James Connerly to be one of those guys, or if he falls to the early second and we were able to snag him at whatever it is, 38, I think. But yeah, I mean, I have him going here to Baltimore, like I said, kind of complimenting Derrick Henry and Lamar. I feel like a wide receiver could be in the play or a trade out, but at the same time, I don't really know a receiver that would really. I feel like they don't really have great success drafting receivers. I know they drafted Hollywood Brown, and he was relatively mediocre throughout the entirety.
Zay has been okay. Bateman was like a second round pick, I think.
So I don't know if they try and swing again at a wide receiver, but like I said, I feel like
who would it even be at this point? Isaiah Bond.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or you have a Buka going.
Yeah. So yeah, I got Connerly going at 27.
Okay. I missed this one comment actually before. Now that I see this, can we get a live draft pod? There'd be a lot of hoops to jump through with this. I don't know if it would work. And can we get an instant reaction to the drafts? Greg just wants to be on the pod because I'm going to be in his company on Thursday night. We'll see. If it's really if it's anything other, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be hard to have a good
That'll be an
live reaction.
off-pod conversation.
Yeah, we don't need to discuss that here. Detroit Lions, high hopes for them last year. Couldn't get it done. What do you think they go here? They don't really have needs because it felt like they could have easily won the Super Bowl. I think they were our Super Bowl pick for a lot of the season. At least they were my Super Bowl pick I ended up doing. So where do you think they go to address their
Very similar to your previous analysis. I've gone with Starks, pair him up with Brian Branch. I know they do have a lot of quality players in that defensive secondary and on their defense in general. But Starks is kind of a plug-and-play guy. I know he's a safety, but I feel like you can also play him in the box a little bit as a more versatile and quick linebacker, especially guarding that running back. And I feel like he might be physical enough to guard tight ends. I really like Starks, like you said, SEC, Georgia. Can't really miss on those guys, it seems like, in the draft. I think he'd be a good complement to that defense and on the opposite side of Branch. I wasn't sure. I was trying to think doing this because I thought they had another safety that played pretty well with Branch.
Melifonwu.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not sure, but I feel like if Starks is on the board, he kind of reeks of a Detroit guy, like gritty Georgia SEC. I don't know. It seems like a guy that Dan Campbell will like at 28. Like you said, they don't necessarily have a lot of needs, so that was a difficult position for me to draft in. But yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head with Starks in the previous pick, but I just have him going one pick later.
Yeah, so I'm doing something a little different. Thinking about it, I don't love this pick as much, but you have Hutchinson off one edge. I got him going with the other edge, taking our man from hometown Boston College, going with Donovan Izaraku, best player available at this point. I mean, I don't know. You have Hutchinson, you do, but could always shore that up, add another guy on the edge. Hutchinson coming off an injury, Boston College, Dan Campbell seems like a good fit there. So we'll read the chat. Where are you going, Colin? I'm going to New York City tomorrow to Sunday night. Hoops in New York City. Still don't know what this is. I think this is like a bad thing. That's lit. Going for the whole weekend. Yep. 5 days. Yes. Traveling back-to-back weekends. Yes, we'll be in New York City and then Ohio State. Think Lions take an edge maybe. I agree. I'm going with Donovan from Boston College. OSU's own Tyleik Williams. Stay tuned. I will have Tyleik Williams going in the next couple picks. So let's jump out to the Washington Commanders, NFC Championship game loser. Not a lot of needs for them either, really, after trading for Debo. Running back, they still have a couple guys. I feel like their offensive line's pretty solid. They got Tunsil. So I'm going with the next kind of wave of cornerbacks. I'm going with Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky. I feel like end of the first round picks are always like corners and that type of position. So I'll go with this Kentucky guy who don't know a lot about, but I don't really know what else they would need. So maybe shore up that secondary a little bit behind Lattimore. What about you for the Washington Commanders?
Yeah, I overheard. I know I wasn't live on the pod, but the BC guy, Detroit seems like a good fit. Very similar kind of move here. I feel like I'm just one pick behind you. I have him going. I'm not even going to attempt to say his last name, but the defensive end out of BC, I have him going to the Skins at 29. Like you said, it's not. I feel like when you're at this point in the draft and there's not someone and your team doesn't necessarily need have a massive need, I feel like defense is always the way to go because I feel like you're rotating those players in and out a lot more, as opposed to the offensive side of the ball. So I got him going at 29. Can never hurt to have a edge rusher, especially I feel like in recent years they've been rotating defensive line pressures, like players in and out. I mean, the Eagles are obviously the prime example of that. So I think they're kind of trying to mold themselves into that Eagles team. So I have him going there at 29 to the Washington Redskins.
Commanders.
No, I have to say it as many times as I can.
I like the pick. BC guy, rooting for him wherever he goes. The Bills, another championship game loser. Lots of maybe wide receiver concerns here. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I may want to change this pick, but I'll stick with what I had written down. But we'll start with you. What do you have for the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, I agree. Kind of tough picking a wide receiver here. Could see them trading back. Honestly, I don't really know. Like you said, when you get to this point, there's not necessarily a need. I feel like you're going either best player or someone that really strikes you as a guy. And unfortunately, I obviously don't like the Bills. I didn't screw them over here because I feel like they're a much smarter organization than both the Jets and the Dolphins. So I have them going with James Pierce, the edge.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's still on the board.
Yeah, he's on the board for me. If he falls, I think he's like kind of a sleeper in this draft, and the Bills seem like a team that would be like, hey, like this guy's just too good to pass up on. So they go with him at 30.
Yeah, learn behind Von Miller and Rousseau and those guys at Oliver.
Yeah.
Alley graduation weekend, yes. That'll be where I'm at in 2 weeks. Okay. Oh, wait, I didn't get my picks for the Bills. I have them going corner. I think they got rid of Trey White. Just don't really know a lot of their corners. Like I said, it's kind of the second wave of corners. So I went with Trey Amos from Ole Miss. Don't know much about him, but, it's to the point where it's like they're kind of grabbing random guys. Best player available maybe, or just position in need, corner, put a body in the room. I don't know.
Yeah.
Congrats, Allie. Yes, not yet though. Still has to, graduate. Okay. The 2-time champions in the past 3 years, the Kansas City Chiefs. I have a layup for them. Allie mentioned it, preluded to my pick. I have them taking Josh Simmons. They really want him. I think they'll get him. It could come down to them just they're going to take whoever falls of Connerly, Calvin Banks. If like the Texans go Josh Simmons, I don't know. But I have Josh Simmons going here to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think after that Super Bowl, it's like the same thing that happened when they lost the Bucs. It's like, oh shit, we need a better pass rush. Jamar Taylor, who freaking false starts every play, ain't doing it anymore. I think he also may have changed teams, traded Dooney. So they're going to need offensive line bodies, even if Simmons doesn't play tackle. Maybe he switches inside, plays guard. So I got him going offensive tackle here. Josh Simmons from Ohio State. What about you? What could the Chiefs possibly need, right?
Yeah, exactly. So for awareness, I texted Dub that I was only on pick 22 when we started the podcast. So I was kind of scrambling.
This far.
Yeah, I know. So I was if you saw me throughout the beginning of the pod, I was definitely still kind of mocking. Was looking for tackles. Honestly, I couldn't find any that I liked. I had them going relatively earlier. But if you have Simmons falling, it seems like a perfect fit. I also can see the Chiefs doing what they kind of do at the end of the first round and get another weapon. I know they have Rice coming back. Worthy had a pretty decent rookie year. I'm not exactly sure who else is on their receiving core. Obviously, Kelsey at tight end.
I think Hollywood's back for another year.
Yeah, I'm not a massive Hollywood Brown fan. I'm very curious to see what happens with him. I feel like he's just the definition of mediocre whenever he goes somewhere. He just has kind of a cool name, so people think he's pretty decent, and he was drafted relatively high. So I have them going with another speedy guy. I know they like him, very versatile. So I have them going with the wide receiver out of Mizzou, Burden.
Luther Burden.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of teams have, or at least I've heard that a lot of teams like him kind of his stock is rising. At least I don't know if it's going to be in the first round, might be early second. Potential option for the Patriots if he falls in early second round. I like him personally. I don't really love a lot of the receivers in this class, especially the early ones, as we've kind of talked about at nauseum at this point. But I don't know. Kind of seems like the Chiefs get a skill position guy. when I have the majority of the tackles off the board at this point. They could probably trade back if they wanted to, but like you said, they're always in the mix. There's not necessarily a need outside of O-line. And if they want to get maybe, like you said, if they have a tackle that they like at this point, then obviously that makes more sense. I just couldn't find one within my mock draft, so I have them going with the wide receiver out of Mizzou at 31.
They'll draft someone where I'll be like, fuck, how do we let them get them?
Yeah, exactly. It's how
But
it
we
always
just
goes.
don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah.
Some more comments. Cam, unprepared, disappointed.
Greg, get the fuck out and eat your taco, actually.
Still
Also,
likes
if
you.
Hoops is brought up one more time on this pod, I'm
Don't
fucking
just, why would
freezing.
you say, obviously he's going to say it. Okay. Last pick in the draft, the defending Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. Also, by the way, actually, I think I nailed one. I'm going to look at my list. I nailed one pick, like past like 20 in my correct picks. But the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl defending champions, are on the board. Who do you have them taking with the last pick in the first round? That little last pick before we head to bed.
Yeah.
Or if you stay up or not, but.
Yeah, pretty sure you had this guy going very, very early. I don't know, maybe I just misheard it. But I have the D tackle. I know the Pats just signed Milton. Kind of obvious. That's the only reason really why I know that. But Nolan, what's his first name? Walter Nolan. Is that who you had at Ole Miss?
Yep. I had him going at 17 to the Bengals.
Yeah, 17. Obviously, that's like halfway through the draft, and I have the last pick in the first round. He's still on the board. Obviously, I don't know as much about these players, I know the Eagles love, like I said, to rotate their defensive line. No matter what they do, it seems like they're probably going to want to fill at least an interior D lineman with Milton leaving, at least from my perspective. And obviously, they just won the Super Bowl. Don't really know what they need because they're going into it as the defending champs. So I have them replacing one of their more productive defensive linemen. If you have that guy still available who Dub drafted pretty early, I think that kind of just reeks of a Philadelphia Eagles pick.
Yeah, some of this exact same mindset. I have a guy. I don't know if you took him. I know he was mentioned maybe by Allie, Tyreek Williams, Ohio State. I think this book ends two Ohio State guys going at the end. Defensive tackle, replace that Milton Williams. I'm thinking the exact same thing. Like originally, I'm like, oh shit, they have Jalen Carter, but then I'm remembering they lost a $25 million a year guy and Milton Williams. So I think they replaced him with Tyreek Williams from Ohio State. So that wraps up the first round. So we can page in the chat because they have something relevant to say for once. Of course, we had the hoops 3 times. You knew what you were doing with that. McGinn and I are going to hoops. Back to business. Who falls out? So for me, one big name that I'm kind of regretting not putting in is Jahad Campbell, the linebacker. He's the best linebacker in the draft. Mm-hmm. I just don't think linebackers go early. I don't know. It feels like they're kind of trending away from that. Other names I have falling out. I mean, I have Sturridge falling down pretty far, but he's still going to be in. Is there anyone that comes to the top of your mind while I take a look at the big board maybe and see who else I had?
I'm also kind of peeping on my side. Like I said, when it got towards the back half of the first, I was struggling to come up with names. So off the top of my head, I don't necessarily have anybody. I know I don't know. I had I had Hampton going 20, which I feel like is maybe, I don't know. Like I haven't looked at all the mocks regarding the running backs. I do like Henderson. I don't know if like it's just a running back. That's the problem. I do like Henderson.
Yeah, he's gonna go early. He'll be in the first like 5 to 10 picks in the second round at least.
Yeah, like I would love, like you said, if he falls to the Pats and like I said, I in my mock the Pats trading that pick at 38 in order to get Simmons at 21 with Steelers, but if they still have that pick and he's available, I like him. Trying to think of other names. I know there's been a lot of hype around this tight end out of, I forget his fucking name. I'll try and find it while we're on the pod. But like this tight end in the third round who's kind of creeping into the second, seems like a Patriots kind of guy. I think he's out of like, I don't know if it's like Campbell University or like some no name, but he's like this I think he like set some sort of record for receptions as a tight end, but I don't know. I'll do some more research.
Did you have Kenneth Grant getting picked from Michigan, defensive tackle?
I did not, no.
So he's the 21. I'm looking at, I think I had mostly the top here besides Jahad Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look. I mean, besides that, I mean, we can kind of transition into the remaining like relevant or super relevant players. Apparently, Travion Henderson is getting a lot of noise to the Commanders. I'm not seeing 3 running backs going in the first round. I'd be surprised. I do think Henderson
Yeah.
goes early day 2. Like I think that he could be on the board potentially for the Pats. Besides that, maybe somebody trades up and grabs him. The tight end is from Bowling Green that you're referencing.
Yes.
He has in the chat for us.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
So looking at it from the quarterback perspective, I mean, you have a lot of names here. We have Riley Leonard, Will Howard, Kyle McCord. I personally, my pick for Kyle McCord, I think he's going to the Saints. I think he'll go with the Saints' 3rd round pick, which will be pretty early in the 3rd round. So like 9th pick in the 3rd round. That's where Kyle McCord goes. I think he's kind of getting hyped up a little bit.
Yeah.
On that spectrum. And then with other people like, I mean, Riley Leonard and Will Howard are more find like a backup role type of thing where like they're going to be behind somebody that we probably think is good. Like maybe one of them ends up in the Chargers or something like that. Like they'll be interesting to watch, especially I think Riley Leonard could be like a good example of how you defend against Josh Allen. So maybe he goes to like the Jets or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know potential spots for those quarterback guys. Is there somebody I'm missing as well? Maybe.
So I was just gonna say, you haven't brought up Milrow at all.
Milrow, yeah.
I was curious. I mean, I obviously have 3 quarterbacks on the top 9, and the only team I can really see outside of the ones that have drafted one would be the Steelers. So I could see them potentially drafting Milrow if no one's available. But obviously, it's like you have it mocked. You have them going extremely late. So if they want to draft, I mean, you have them drafting Dart, right?
The Steelers, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It could be any of those teams, whether it be the Saints, Giants. I can also see Cleveland going that route too with Milrow in the second. I don't know if it's a 2nd round pick or 3rd round pick. Obviously, it's going to be like draft by draft. It's very different. I know notoriously there's not many 2nd round quarterbacks drafted. I feel like it's either you go get your guy in the 1st or he's going to be there in the 3rd. And especially with this draft, I feel like there's just so much more depth, like we've talked about at wide receiver and tackle. I feel like there's going to be a lot of those picks in the 2nd round that we both probably missed a name or two that we're not remembering on that could have easily been picked in the 1st round. But
yeah, I like Milrow to the Browns. Maybe they trade up in their 3rd round pick into like the middle of the 2nd round.
Yeah,
grab him. Greg has a comment for us. Who will the Giants take in the 2nd round? This can be the last thing we address, I guess, because it's getting to the point where we're talking about the Giants' 2nd round pick.
Yeah.
So I have them going with Carter and then maybe trading up for Shedeur. So I don't know if they'll have a 2nd round pick unless they have like a compensatory pick in the end of the round, because they'll probably have to use that to trade up. If not, though, I could see them. So if they're going Carter, then they're probably going to go. Maybe they'll take a shot in that Bowling Green guy. And I don't know if he's like a 2nd or 3rd round guy. Their wide receivers are weird because they have neighbors, and then it's like a bunch of mess.
A huge drop, yeah.
Maybe they'll grab like Luther Burden if he's still there. Maybe they, are interested in like a Travion Henderson as well. With I mean, Tyrone Tracy was good though, so I don't know. They still have Singletary. I think they go defense again. Maybe they grab Jahad Campbell.
When you're drafting at that spot, it's so obvious that you have so many holes to fill.
Maybe they could take like a safety if he falls, like if Starks is still there to grab him. Jahad Campbell, I have him falling. Maybe they grab him. Like I think the Giants will have whoever they come away with in the 2nd round will be like, oh shit, like that was a good pick because it's going to be like that for the first 10 picks. Those are all the guys who follow the 1st round.
Yeah.
So I think the Giants they'll nail it in the 2nd round unless they go like random shit. But I think they'll take somebody good.
Agreed. Yeah, I can definitely see them if they're. The problem is like I feel like the majority of their needs are on the offensive side of the ball. And obviously they're at 3 kind of slotted with Carter, it seems like in the majority of mocks, just because he's the best player available at that time and arguably the better player. I mean, you can have that debate between Hunter and Carter, but like a pass rusher at that caliber, it's very difficult to pass up on at 3. So with them at 3, I can see it would be extremely difficult for them not to take, whether it be a receiver or quarterback at that early 2nd round spot, especially if either Shedeur or maybe Jackson Dart falls, or you have one of those receivers that we have drafted fall into the 2nd round. I don't think you had a Ibuka drafted.
Oh, Ibuka, yeah, he could be there.
Yeah, he could be there. But yeah, obviously we don't know shit. Neither do any of the actual NFL draft insiders know. So,
but we'll have more picks right than a couple of them. I can guarantee that.
That would be sick. Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. like I said, it's just going to be talking about football again. Don't love how the Pats are picking 4 and we're getting excited about the draft, but that's just where we are right now. So hopefully they get aggressive like they did in the offseason. Maybe, like I said, trade back into the first round, address some needs that they have. But yeah, a couple of days away.
Okay. End us out in a row of comments here before I'll ask you one more question. Giants taking Donovan Jackson, Ohio State. So I guess why not? Best position player is Carter. Best athlete is Hunter. Agreed.
Yeah.
Abuka to the Pats at 38, and I'm committing arson. Maybe want to hide that from the government.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up here, just want to catch up with you. Anything you wanted to say for the people? I won't say anything. We can end this real quick, but anything on NBA, NHL you want to address, or do you want to just sign us off here?
I mean, it's disappointing. Bruins aren't in the playoffs for the first time. I can't even imagine when. I love playoff hockey, so I'm trying to get into it. Maybe I get into the Canes, even though they're a rival. I know a lot of people here enjoy watching. I just like watching hockey, so maybe I'll ride their coattail. We'll see. It's kind of disappointing, like I said. NBA. I'm fully committed on the Celtics winning it all. I know it's difficult to repeat, but I honestly don't see a team that can really compete. I know the Thunder are very talented, but extremely young. Kind of baffles me that they're the favorite to win it all over them. I low-key am tempted to place a bet on the Celtics sweeping every series in order to win it all. But I think it's going to be, I hope, an easy road. I'm scared. The only team I'm really frightened of is the Nuggets with Jokic. I feel like if Chris Stapps can't play 1 or 2 games out of the series, that might be an automatic loss because I don't really know. Like, you're going to have Big Al fucking cover him for those 2 games.
Cornette?
Yeah, that might be worse. So that's my main concern. But fully on the Celtics bandwagon. It's playoff time, and we're actually good this time around. But other than that, I mean, I don't know about you. Like, I think you said you had nothing to add, but I don't follow the NBA, so I don't know shit about like all these other teams. Like, I keep track of it, but I'm not watching NBA regular season games. So I'll primarily just be riding the Celtics. Maybe hop on a bandwagon for a hockey team just so I can say that I'm watching playoff hockey because I think it's arguably the best playoff of any of the 4 major sports. So, but yeah, that's kind of my sign off. Good to be back on the pod with you. Like I said, it's almost football season. We're getting there. Summertime, weather's getting nice. It should be an exciting day on Thursday. And I don't know about you if you're staying up for the whole draft, but it's also
I'm watching every single pick.
Yeah, but I'm used to watching the Patriots draft, and we're slotted at either like 32 to 28, and then we'll trade out, and then there's not a first round pick, and you're up until like 1 a.m. doing nothing. So, kind of exciting that we have a top 4 pick. Obviously, you don't want to be there, but hopefully they can make a splash. I have them taking Walker. You have them going Campbell. Either way, I feel like it's going to be an entertaining Thursday night talking about football.
Yeah. I'll be texting. We'll compare notes on who did better with the picks. I'm assuming you have a copy of your draft somewhere. I have it in my Google Doc.
Yep.
Yeah. So just quick note: if you want a hockey team, I have a future on the Stars. Tough draw, but if you want to ride on that. Besides that, I mean, I missed the football podcast. It was great to talk with you. We went longer than I thought we would tonight. Good podcast back and forth. The chat was live, even though we only had 3 commenters. It was great to hear from them as well. So live streams will continue in the future for NFL. Yeah, it's good to be talking about football only 3 or 4 months away, unfortunately, but hopefully the summer, the sports in the meantime can keep us entertained. So that'll wrap up this mock draft. As always, be easy, guys. Have a great draft.